Welcome back to another episode of Mic'd Up with FCYC, brought to you by the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. I'm Taylor Gaddy.
And I'm Charles Pennington. Here at Mic'd Up with FCYC, we amplify youth voices, highlight leadership and service, and connect generations through conversations that strengthen our community.
Today's conversation is important. Students are heading back into the building, the backpacks are packed, the alarms are set, and the first day outfits are ready. Everybody is asking, what classes do you have? Who is your teacher? And are you ready for school?
But okay, we're asking different questions. Back in the building, but are you okay?
Because not every student walking into school feels confident, excited, or ready. Some are carrying anxiety, pressure at home, friendship drama, bullying, loneliness, or low self-esteem.
Sometimes the people who smile the biggest may be carrying the heaviest things. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and today we're talking honestly about mental health, suicide prevention, and healthy relationships, social media, stress, and asking for help.
We are excited to welcome Danielle Little and Samantha Tillman, public health educators. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
We always begin with the story behind the person. People usually do not choose a career helping others without a reason, a passion, or an experience that inspired them. My first question to you all is, everyone has a story. What inspired you to work in the field of mental health, and why are you passionate about helping young people?
All right, I'll go ahead and get us started.
Okay,
so
thank you.
My name is Danielle Little. I am the mental health education specialist with the Cumberland County Department of Public Health. And the reason that I got into this field was because I genuinely believe that life is all about the little things. So there are a lot of big moments, but those big moments are made up of the small day-to-day tasks. And so where I find my passion is empowering others to make small changes that compound over time to make a big difference, whether that be their mental health, their physical health, but their overall health and wellness. So the mental health field is near and dear to my heart. I've had my own personal struggles, and now I find power in empowering others and sharing my story.
Yeah. And I'm Samantha Tillman. My pronouns are she, they, and I do work with Danielle at the health department. And my program area focus is reproductive health. So I did start out as a high school science teacher. And then once I left and got into a different career field, I really missed education. I missed being around teenagers. And so I went back to school for public health. And I really wanted to work in reproductive health education because, that's not something that I got when I was a teenager, when I was in school. And then being a teacher, I had students ask tons of questions about reproductive health. And then working with teenagers, because I'm also the chair of our Teen Wellness Task Force. So we focus on issues that our teenager and adolescent population are facing. And a lot of that has to do with mental health. So me and Danielle work together a lot to try to figure out how we can best support our young people in our community.
That's really nice and thank you for sharing that. And that's really nice to hear the kind of like the reasoning behind why y'all do the things you do. Helps us understand why mental health and physical health is so important to just everyone. To kind of get the snowball rolling, people use the word mental health all the time, but every generation experiences it differently. If you could describe mental health of today's teens in one word, what would it be and why?
Ooh.
One word.
One word is
one word. Yes.
Is hard. But I would say then complex, because mental health exists on a complex continuum. And I think when we think of mental health, a lot of times there can be a negative connotation that comes with it, because our mind is automatically going to jump to mental illness. But I think mental health is something that we have to think of just as commonly as our physical health.
Right.
How many times a year do you guys get sick and go to the doctor, get some additional help, get some medicine, come back and you start feeling better? We have to take intentional time to prioritize our mental health. And so it's something that needs to be thought of and conversated about more openly. And I think that today's generation of youth has really started that conversation and isn't afraid to say, hey, I'm not okay. I need extra help. I don't understand this. How can I deal with that? But it is complex, and there's things that are going to affect my mental health that may not affect y'all's mental health. And I think what's been really cool about working with the youth specifically is I learned so much from y'all, because I am not in your shoes right now. And so sometimes the best thing for me to do as an educator is to let you guys educate me, because I am not the expert in the day-to-day stresses that y'all are dealing with, because they're even different from the time that I was in high school and going through those changes. So it's definitely complex, but I think we're doing a good job at starting that conversation and listening to each
You
other.
guys definitely are.
Yeah. I would say, when I think about mental health for our youth, the word that comes to mind is hopeful. And it's because when I was a teenager, nobody talked about mental health. No one talked about the struggles they were having. And like Danielle said, young people today are ready to talk about it. They want to talk about it. And so that really gives me a lot of hope that really we're all going to be okay.
Right.
We're going to be okay because we're ready to open up and communicate and talk about what's going on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strength that comes with those shared experiences, because mental health at times can feel very, very isolating. But once you kind of break down those barriers and you say, this is what I'm experiencing, and then the person next to you is like, hey, I've gone through that too. It's like, okay, I can kind of like take a deep breath and relax a little bit and then understand that I'm not entirely alone through this struggle.
Right.
So y'all do a great job of that.
I think the power of hope is really important to helping people rebuild, like kind of like their mental structures, especially after like horrible things happen to them. I think that was a really good word.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you for sharing. I think that's very powerful. And I feel like one word can definitely say a lot about what young people go through today, especially when it comes to mental health. Adults sometimes see a young person's behavior without understanding what may be underneath it. A student may look distracted, angry, tired, or unmotivated, but something deeper may be going on. What are the biggest mental health challenges young people are facing today that adults may not fully understand?
This is something that we have heard young people say a lot, is that adults don't always get it. And it's really easy. Something we do in public health is, we see behaviors, but we're concerned with why is this behavior happening? So we want to get into the deeper things. When I am around young people and we talk about issues, one thing that we are seeing is a lot of anxiety. And part of that is because like young people feel like they're supposed to know what they're going to do next. As you go through high school, junior, senior year, oh, what are you going to do after high school? Oh, you're going to go to college? Well, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And there's so many choices that it's like, it's overwhelming and there's so much anxiety. And sometimes we as adults need to remember, like, teenagers are kids and they still need that time to be kids, and that we don't need to pack so much onto them all the time, because it really exacerbates anxiety.
Definitely. And I would say with that, understanding when to explore. So I always say for anyone who's interacting with youth to explore when invited and intervene when needed, because sometimes all we need to do is give individuals the chance to talk openly about what they're going through. Sometimes we just need a listening ear. Be like, hey, what you're going through is a really challenging, difficult time. And it meant not making it about us, not making it about, oh, well, you need to do this or you should be doing that. Because I think even with what you were saying of like the anxiety of what you should be doing or having things figured out, there's so much comparison that comes with that. When you're looking at what's happening on social media, who's doing what online, what your friends are doing in your immediate circle, there's so much that comes with that. So understanding when to explore the invitations of, hey, maybe there's something that's bothering an individual. How about we dive into that a little bit further? And then if it gets to a point where, yeah, we think that maybe an intervention is needed, then we intervene. But understanding to just create that safe environment for individuals to open up, and you're listening to understand, you're not listening to respond. So creating that so everyone feels like they have a voice and that it's being heard.
Yeah, and I would say like one big thing that I try to reiterate whenever I'm able to interact with parents is reminding them that being a teenager is hard. Okay, this is all our first time living this life. And it's really, sometimes it's easy for adults to forget all the things that they went through when they were 12, 13, 14, 15. And so sometimes we really do have to look at adults and remind them like, yeah, what you're going through as an adult is tough. What they're going through is tough too.
Sometimes young people are not being disrespectful or lazy. They may be overwhelmed, exhausted, anxious, or struggling to explain what they feel. Our generation is connected almost all the time through group chats, social media, video calls, and online games. I play a lot of games. Yet many young people still feel alone. So the question is, why do so many teens feel or say they feel lonely or disconnect even though they're connected online all the time?
I will say this is something that I've actually, several conversations have happened within my personal friend group, because I think this is not just an issue that our young people are facing. This is an issue adults are facing too. I mean, my Instagram is forever going off, and it's really easy for us to have superficial relationships. With lots of people, like a lot of people online through like my hobbies, they know my name, they know the kind of things that I'm into, but they don't really know me. Okay. And so it's almost like we forget that we have to spend time with our friendships and our relationships actually talking about deep things so that we can actually form a connection. But it's just, that can be tough because you have to be vulnerable. And that's very hard for some people. Yes. Yeah. Especially our boys. So our boys are hit with this societal obligation to be strong and not show emotion and things like that. But you really need those to build deep connections with people and have true friendships.
Like robbing yourself from being human without like.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's and I will say, like, online gaming, so fun. I used to do it all the time. Yeah. But it's really important for us to step back, take a break from social media. Danielle really tries to do a lot of education about taking breaks from social media, so that you have a chance to work on your person-to-person relationships more.
I always say, I try to say phones down, friends on, because if our phones are down, how long can we go without like, oh my gosh, where's my phone? It's like an addiction. You want to pick it up. You want to be connected online, and you could be sitting in a room full of people, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know an actual thing about any of these people, but like at least we follow each other on Instagram. It's like, well, what does that actually mean? Can you call that person up when you're having a rough day? Does that person understand what you need? Do they understand who you are beyond the social media? Because everyone is putting the best version of themselves online, whether that be gaming, social media. That is what you want the world to see. But is that actually who you are? And I'll be the first to admit, my social media, I look great on Instagram. It shows, all my best moments. Exactly. And the day-to-day, it's like, I still look like that. I'm not going to say I'm a catfish or anything, but like I'm not posting and like actually showing what I'm doing on my day-to-day or the things that are filling my cup, because I'm like, well, that's not going to be what people want to see.
Yeah,
things like that.
Exactly. Like the people that we follow on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, sure, having quick interaction, sharing reels or TikToks with each other, but it's always important, like, do you have a person that you can call to talk to? That if you're having a bad day, if your car breaks down, do you have somebody that you could call that would answer the phone and come get you? And so that's why it's so important to understand that you have to put your phone down to really work on your friendships.
And then understanding too, when you're having a rough day and you get online and you see someone's, okay, this is what I did today working from home, or this is what I did today, and this is what I eat
How to
today.
make $10,000 a month.
Exactly. It's like, hold on. Like, this is not realistic.
Yeah.
Like, I need everyone to come back to reality real quick, because it's very easy to get trapped into that doom scrolling of, oh my gosh, everyone else's life is so much better than mine, or I'll never have this, or I'll never have that. And it's like, that is not reality. Because think about how many times those influencers or those people that you see online are setting up the camera, redoing that one action 10, 20 times to get the perfect shot, and then moving on to the next thing. It's like, be where your feet are, enjoy what's happening in the present moment, and then, I'm not saying phones are a terrible thing. Social media is great. It keeps us connected to long distance friends, family, but there is an amount that is good for that, and then there's an amount where it's no longer healthy and benefiting us.
That's really smart, like the putting the phones down and the connection. Because I was like that actually sounds like, I guess I've heard it before, but it was like, I guess how you placed it was amazing. So
try it
really
the next
smart.
time with your friends. Phones down, friends on.
We'll try that. I'm gonna have dinner at his house tonight.
There you go.
Good.
But I think it's definitely amazing, because like sometimes like you'll see like something on social media. I think something that kind of like keep me grounded was like people like record videos in complete silence. Like their house is like quiet. It's just like if that take goes bad, it's like, and they gotta redo it all. It's like,
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that's a good point you guys both had. So it's amazing.
I think these examples show us that being connected online is not always the same feeling as being supported in real life, and also how easy it is to put up a facade on Instagram. And like you said, it's hard when you're having a bad day and you go online and you see things that are so unrealistic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to differentiate like what's real and what's not. So students today also carry pressures that may not have existed in the same way years ago. So what pressures are today's students carrying that previous generations may not have experienced?
Well, I think one of the first ones that we just discussed is the social media component of things.
Yeah.
It is insane how much we know about other people's lives just from being online, and with that again comes that comparison component. So being at such a impressionable age and going through so many changes, and then having that online component and that exposure, that is overwhelming within itself. We did not have to deal with that. Even when I was in high school, it was like Snapchat was the only real thing that was keeping us connected. And it was like, who's your best friend on Snapchat? Like, okay, that's one thing. But now you have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can make Twitter. You can make money from being online and being this figure, and like. That is a big focus, and it's a career now. And so that's something that's completely different. I think that's a great thing in some aspects, but that's not something that I had to deal with or previous generations had to deal with that I think can be a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, and then our phones are also affecting our romantic relationships. So, our younger generations, you would see each other at school, and then you would talk on the phone after. But now I hear of people be like, "Oh, as soon as we get home, we turn on FaceTime, and then we're on FaceTime for 2 hours, and then we get off. But then when we're ready for bed, we get on FaceTime again, and then we fall asleep." Yes, and it's like you don't need to be together all the time. So what ends up happening is kind of this like codependent relationship where you have to be together all the time in order to feel like your relationship is stable, and we're seeing some of that kind of go into unhealthy relationship territory. And then those unhealthy relationships again affect our mental health, and can affect our overall physical health. So I mean, I don't want to say phones are the problem, because phones are not problems. It's just us being connected to the world all the time is not allowing us to really be present in our lives and with our in-person relationships.
What would you guys say you guys deal with that is different from previous generations?
I think I was talking to my dad about it like not too long ago. He was like, my biggest issue growing up in Detroit was like going to school and making sure that like I was doing my best. But like now it's like he was like, now you open up your phone and you feel like you see like some dude with like a 5 GPA and you're over there with like a 3.
Your best isn't good enough.
I was like, I just studied for this test and this dude's over here like doing this, down the third. I think it's like as you said, it's like the comparison. It's like also it's like it's so hard to like be in the moment when like the world is literally like a tap away, and it's like you never can be present because you're always wondering like there's probably someone doing something better, or like for me, like when I started working now, it was like people doing like 500-pound deadlifts, and I was like, man, like,
Yeah.
And it's like it's hard to be like so happy for yourself or like present for like you and others, because it's like there's someone doing it better. It's like you never know that.
I would say that like the generational gap is a problem, especially like between myself and like grandparents and things of that. Like we're saying, like you said, I was talking about mental health is like a new thing. Like older generations didn't really get into it. So a lot of times when I bring it up around the older generation, it seems like they don't understand and the conversation goes nowhere. Yes. And I think that is definitely a problem, especially for kids who may only live with the older generation. Like I have friends who just live with their grandparents. Yeah. I live with my parents, so they kind of understand it because they're younger than them. But in a way, like there's still like the gap where they're not going to, I feel like sometimes they don't fully understand where I'm coming from. But, you have to stay in a child's place, so I don't really get too much into it. But I definitely feel like there's a gap there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, because, like, my grandma was, like, she's real old school. And I don't mind traditional, but it's, like, you got to understand, like, the new is so much better than the old, because it's, like, People used to just be like, I had a bad day at work. I feel horrible. I'm going to go home and drink a bunch of alcohol.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which was and that shows how far we've come with our mental health care.
Yeah.
Because that was the only thing they had to cope with their mental health issues.
Yeah.
And so now we know that there's communication. We have healthcare providers that can help us. So there's definitely generational gaps.
There is, and it's like it causes such a big bridge because it's like that's what you used to do. Like I'm cool with going home and crying a bit and then playing the game just to like get all the rage out. It's just like they're like, why would you do that? You're a girl. It's like, all right, bro. It's like, you know what? Okay, Gramps, do you? But I feel a lot better than you do right now. So
Yeah.
It's like,
That's important to know yourself in those situations.
Exactly.
And be like, even if someone else is going to judge me for this, or they might not think it's, the way that they would have handled it, it works for me and that's okay.
Exactly. You got to raise your hands and
Absolutely.
be like,
Yeah.
do you,
Absolutely.
you. Right. But to continue, young people may feel pressure to look perfect, make perfect grades, be popular, stay active, prepare for college, help at home, and act like still everything is fine. That is a lot to carry. Let's make this practical. Someone listening may already feel nervous about tomorrow. Their stomach may hurt, their heart may race, or they may worry about fitting in, seeing certain people, taking a test, or sitting alone at lunch. I felt crazy yesterday. But my question is, if a student wakes up every morning feeling anxious about going to school, what are 3 practical things they can do to manage those feelings?
I would say the first one that I always start with whenever I have an overwhelming day, and I think it's a good practice, is to take that one big thing and break it up into small tasks that I can accomplish. Because if I take one big list and I'm like, okay, what is the first thing that I need to do? And then I'm only focusing on that one thing. Then I check off that one thing and it leads into the next thing. I'm like building my confidence throughout the day. And the huge overwhelming list becomes just a series of small tasks that I can get through.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, like for the school day is, step 1, I just have to get up and get dressed.
Yeah.
Step 2, I just got to get to school. Step 3, I just got to get to my locker. So, I mean, doing it little by little really does make a big
nice,
difference.
Yeah. It's pretty nice. I think I'm a very like emotional person when it comes to like having to do a hard challenge. So like I'll wake up to like say to like, I don't know, my first day of college is the 17th. So like if I felt bad about that day, like especially if it's something that I'm like really feeling bad about, I'll just wake up and I'll jump around for a bit and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to start my day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's a really good like kind of like breaking it down. So it's like, all right, after I did this, now it's time to wash up. Now it's time to get ready. Now it's time to and then it's like your day seems like one big hill, and it's like now it's just like going upstairs. So
little by little,
Absolutely.
it makes a big difference. I think also understanding what's in your control and what's outside of your control, because our mind can snowball on everything that's going to happen tomorrow. What good is that going to do us today? We're not at tomorrow yet. So we got to focus on where we're at today and understand what's in our control. Because if something is outside of my control, then there's nothing I can do about it. If it's inside my control, then what can I do in this moment to help myself feel better, to either prepare for tomorrow or handle the situation in front of me? And then if I do that one thing, I know I've handled it. I can wipe my hands clean and keep my day going.
Exactly.
Those are steps students can use right away, and sometimes having a simple plan can make a stressful morning feel more manageable. That is a message many young people may need today. A difficult moment does not last forever. Comparison is one of the biggest struggles for young people. Online, somebody always seems happier, more attractive, more successful, more athletic, or more popular.
But social media usually shows the highlight reels and not the insecurity, the stress, the disappointment, or the real life behind the post. Definitely. So many young people compare themselves to what they see on social media. How can they stop comparing themselves and begin appreciating who they are? Comparison is a thief of joy, first of all.
I was just about to say that you understand that comparison is the thief of joy.
It is.
You understand to be grateful for what is right in front of you. And one of the daily practices that I stand on is not only journaling, but with that, doing a moment of gratitude. And in my apartment, I actually have a gratitude board, and I write one thing every single day. And they're even on the roughest of days where I'm like, nothing went right today, everything is terrible, super, super negative day. It's okay, tailoring it back and saying, what is the smallest thing that I can be grateful for today? And understanding it might not be my own joy. It might be, oh my gosh, I saw a family that was happy to be together, or my coffee was really, really good this morning. I might have dropped it on my way into work, but those first couple sips were really good. Like understanding that perspective that comes with it, and understanding that that is great for those individuals online, but that's not your journey. That is not what is ahead of you and what you get to experience. I think perspective is a big thing too that I've really tried to focus on, because when we get into those mental headspaces that are maybe a little bit more negative and we've been comparing, it's understanding to flip that switch from what I have to do to what I get to do. I get to have access to social media and see my friends and, enjoy the things that they're experiencing. I also get to experience all of these really great things for myself and be happy and proud and excited about that. So understanding, again, like you said, comparison is the thief of joy, and that perspective and gratitude are going to be two of the most grounding things that you can do to kind of combat that comparison, in my opinion.
Yeah, and another one, when it comes to comparison on social media, sometimes it boils down to our own body image. By age 17, something close to 75% of girls are unhappy with their bodies. And by age 17, I think it's like roughly 60% of boys. And with boys, it's usually like, oh, I'm not tall enough, my muscles aren't big enough. And for girls, it's, my breasts aren't big enough, my butt's not big enough. Overall, like, I'm fat and things like this. My hair doesn't look good. And it really comes to having to work on your own body image. So that is something that I personally struggled with a lot as a teenager, because my body type does not look like the rest of my family's, and I've always been big. And so I know that what other people's body has going on has nothing to do with me. Okay. And so what I really had to work on was being grateful for what my body allows me to do. So even though I'm in a bigger body, my body still allows me to roller skate. And it still allows me to, do the things that I want to do. And I'm very grateful for that. And so sometimes I have to say that stuff out loud and have myself hear it. And that really helps a lot with body image. And it's also important to know that, like, especially when it comes to having abs, some people's biology is just not set up to have abs. Exactly. There are some people who they're able to, eat a certain diet and do a certain amount of exercise, and they look cut and everything. And then some other people, their bodies just aren't made like that. So also understanding that everybody's body is different. Yes, we are all different, and that the perfect body doesn't exist. Yep.
I think you can even see the people on Instagram who have, the six-pack abs or the slim, thick body figure and all of that, and they can look like they're the most confident individuals online. But every single person has something that they are insecure about. It's not what they're broadcasting online or posting on Instagram and this, that, and the third, but everyone has insecurities. And it could be something that like I said, everyone has them, but we're not broadcasting them. And so understanding that at the end of the day, you got to be okay with those insecurities. One of my biggest insecurities was my height, because my last name is Little. And so I am 6'1". And so people would look at me crazy and they're like, what is your last name is Little and you're this tall? I'm like, yeah. And it's, maybe they're insecure about their height, so they're commenting on mine, and understanding that as well. So understanding that those insecurities are present and they're what make us human, and they're kind of what make us different, and that's a superpower.
I think my favorite thing I've seen online about that is, like, this one dude was like, one thing I hate about my diet is that it's like I'm fart maxing. So, like, everything I'm just like farting all the time. It's like
that protein intake.
Exactly. It's like so, like, I look cool. It's like I'm farting all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's always a negative.
It's always a pushback. So it's like, you know what? I thank you for being open about that. So I can ignore that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's important to remember that your value cannot be measured by likes, followers, comments, or other people's opinions. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is admit that you cannot do everything at once, resting or sitting. How has social media changed the way young people see themselves?
I think social media has changed because it's like, oh, sorry, for interrupting.
I mean, really, it's a lot of comparison, and I do feel like that is what heightens the anxiety, is because you see people doing these things like, oh, I need to be doing these things. I'm just at home not doing anything, and all these people are doing all of these things. Why am I not doing this?
I think it can be, you feel like your example earlier of the 5.0 GPA when you get online and you're like, oh, you're just happy with your 3.0. And you should be so happy and so proud of all of your hard work and not let that individual who has a different GPA steal your joy. But I also think it is, I think it's something that, well, I guess it boils back to, comparison being the thief of joy, and understanding that just because we might not be where other people are, that doesn't mean we're not where we're supposed to be. I also think you guys are seeing people who are at a completely different age from you and have had more time to do the things and get the money and all of this, when realistically growing up, you were surrounded by people of your age group, and social media has shown us and given us access to people of other age groups who are doing all these things. You're like, oh, I should already be doing that. Like, girl, they're 12 years older than you. No, you shouldn't. Right. You're right where you need to be.
Sometimes people create an online version of themselves that they feel pleasured to maintain.
One of the biggest myths is that asking for help makes a person weak. Let's set the record straight. What would you say to a young person who believes asking for help makes them weak?
I think something I would ask them is, do they think that I'm weak? Because I ask for help. Like, I'm very open about my struggles with depression. And I have a small group of friends who all live with depression. And so, like, when I need it, I reach out to them for help. I'm very open about it. It doesn't make you weak. Getting extra resources and getting help allows you to build resilience. So it really ends up making you stronger.
Yeah, I think I would ask them, what would strong be then? Like, if asking for help makes you weak, then what is strong? Just keeping it all inside and not asking for help and handling it all on your own? Because strength to me is being able to admit and say, hey, I am not okay, and this is what I'm going to do to help myself. Exactly like you said, this is what I'm going to do to get the help that I need and become able to be resilient and to help myself and understand this is what the help is there for. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have all these resources if they weren't needed. And so young people in North Carolina are actually some of the highest number of individuals that contact 988, which is the suicide and crisis prevention hotline. So youth aged 13 through 17 are actually the highest number who reach out. So yeah, youth know that reaching out for help is needed, and it's there for a reason.
I would say you gotta, if you think how asking for help was weak, then don't watch YouTube tutorials. You don't need help.
Yeah, you got it.
Asking help takes courage. It means you care enough about yourself to say, I don't want to handle this alone. How can schools, families, and communities change the culture so young people feel safer for asking for help?
That's tough. I mean, talking about stuff like this can be difficult for people. We talked about earlier how you have to be vulnerable, and the older generation is not as good with that as the younger generation. So really, it's about trying to have a continual dialogue with your family. You don't have to say everything in one 30-minute conversation and then you're done forever. Just bringing it up little by little. Just talking about your day and being honest about your day instead of being like, oh, school was fine. Mm-hmm. Like, why was it fine? Like, was it really fine? And so, like, being more open. And I really think our younger generation can really teach their parents how to communicate about things like this. So
yeah, I think working towards a collective solution. So understanding when someone asks for help, don't just say, oh, I'm glad that you asked for help, or point them in the direction of a resource. Help them access that resource. Give them a warm handoff. Give them that connection to care. And then, like Samantha said, following up, hey, checking in, are you okay? How are you doing? It does not need to be some big, long, heart-to-heart, let's get vulnerable every single time we're talking, but understanding that that care doesn't go away just because that help has been given. You're still always going to care. You're going to want to make sure that that individual is okay, but understanding, too, that there has to be follow through on both ends.
Families do not need to have every answer. They need to create a space where young people feel safe telling the truth. My question is, if you could change one myth about mental health forever, what would it be and why?
I would say one myth for depression is that it just means you're sad. What depression really does is kind of dull all of your emotions and make you feel like there's just no way for you to be able to do the things you need to do. So it's not just, oh, I had a bad day and I'm sad. It's really, I cannot get up and do the things that I need to do, and it's truly affecting my day-to-day.
Yeah, I would say, I guess, just addressing the stigma that's still present with mental health, and then specifically our males when seeking mental health help, because I think a lot of time men feel like they have to have it all together and they have to be the providers and they can't show any signs of weakness. And it's understanding, hey, again, these resources are there, and life's to everyone. I always say life be lifing, because it really do be. The joke in our office is the game don't pause. It really does not pause. It keeps going. It's always going to be something. And so just because you are supposed to be the man of the house or be the provider and have it all together does not mean that you can't also struggle with your mental health and need to seek additional care. So I guess it would be reducing that stigma and making sure that everyone understands, again, that life be life into all of us, and that there's going to be times where we all need a little extra help, and that's okay.
So now that you've made it through the really serious question, it's time for my favorite part of the show.
Ooh.
The lightning round.
Uh-oh.
So,
You got me scared.
so it's no long speeches, no overthinking, just the first answer that comes to mind. Are y'all ready?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one habit that every teenager should start today?
Physical activity.
Like going out?
Yep.
Okay.
Getting enough sleep.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one thing every teenager should stop doing?
Vaping.
Oh, vaping. 100%.
Okay. That's a good one. One positive affirmation every student should say each morning.
I am enough.
My body is great. Yeah.
My body is tea.
Okay. Clock it.
Okay. One piece of advice for students starting a new school year.
Control what you can control and celebrate all the little wins.
You're going to make it.
Classes are easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Finish this sentence. Your mental health matters because...
You matter.
Yeah, you matter.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Those were amazing answers. Hopefully our listeners wrote down at least one of the things they can use today.
We are ending with the most important question. Somewhere in Cumberland County, a student may be smiling on the outside but hurting on the inside, feeling invisible, overwhelmed, or wondering whether things will get better. Imagine every student in Cumberland County is listening right now. What message of hope and encouragement would you leave with them during this school year?
I'd say it's okay to not be okay and to utilize the resources that you are surrounded by. You don't have to handle everything alone. You have a network and a community that's here to support you every single step of the way, whether it's connecting you to a resource or just being a listening ear.
Yeah, definitely utilize 988 if you need someone to talk to. There's also a great resource called Somethings, which is like free peer mental health conversations. It's free for all teens in North Carolina. You can just Google somethings.com, look it up, sign up, and then talk to someone just a few years older than you about the things you're going through, because they've gone through it too.
Thank you for directly speaking to our young people. Sometimes one message of hope can remind someone that their story is not over. We thank Daniel Little and Samantha Tillman from the Cumberland County Department of Public Health for joining us and sharing honest, practical, and encouraging advice.
Today's conversation reminds us that mental health is not something we should discuss only during September. It matters every day.
Remember, you are not alone. You are not weak. You are not a burden. Asking for help may be one of the strongest decisions you could ever make.
Check on your friends, talk to a trusted adult, take breaks when you need them, and never be afraid to say, I am not okay and I need support.
If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, start a conversation, and check on somebody. One simple question, are you okay? Can make a life-changing difference.
The Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council is always looking for new members interested in service projects, leadership opportunities, and civic engagement and youth advocacy. Follow us on Instagram or email askfcyc@gmail.com, and you can listen to all of our podcasts by subscribing to the Radio Fayetteville podcast channel.
The voices of today shape the vision for tomorrow. This is Mic'd Up with FCYC. Thank you for listening. Keep leading, keep believing, and keep checking on one another, because your voice matters, your story matters, and your life matters.
And always remember, leadership begins with you.